right, so this is really weird. The car is running. That's flickering. Notice it's flickering. Look, it's in drive. And watch, car's moving. Oh, there's no power steering. So we're gonna take it slow. We're gonna go home and we'll charge the battery up and retest it in a minute. But it's driving real smooth. Look, so we're driving right now, look. It says we're going 0 miles an hour. This is still flickering. Look, we're driving. I gotta make a turn here. I flip my turn signal on. I don't even know if it's on. I think when the other drivers see that I'm driving a BMW, they'll understand. Well, I guess the turn signals do work, but I'm pretty sure that fan's not supposed to be that loud. Look at this. This just popped up out of the middle of nowhere. I even pulled the key out of the ignition at this point. Stuff's still lit up. Stuff's going crazy. I think that the battery's in the trunk like most BMWs, but am I just really stupid, or is this car not well thought out at all? Where in the heck is the trunk button? Usually on a BMW, trunk button's like here maybe, or down here somewhere. Look, no center console trunk button. I press this. This isn't responding to anything. I'm holding this, not doing anything. Look. Trunk button. How in the heck do you open this? There's got to be. Look. What the heck? This is like a possessed BMW, and something crazy is going on. Basically, what I want to do, I'm going to get to that battery. I want to pull it out. I want to test it so that we know what in the heck is going on here. Jeez. Things are already starting to look like a real winner here. Look at this. That is nice quality. That's definitely aftermarket with that cheesy clown coloring there, but it does have the M engine. What is going on here? Also has some really cheesy oil cap. This does look all pretty clean under here. Oh, what is this? Just cracked off? Just chilling? What the heck is going on with this car? I've never seen anything like that. Let's pull this off. What the hell? Look at that. I just popped the oil cap off.
10 years ago, the BMW X6m was the fastest SUV you could buy, even faster than the more expensive Porsche Cayenne Turbo. Today, it's quite possibly one of the fastest ways to go bankrupt. This luxury utility hot rod has the same twin-turbo setup as an M5, which makes it just as unreliable as an M5. But we don't buy decade-old BMWs because of their reliability. We buy them for their Monte Carlo blue metallic paint. With this orangish red leather interior, this car is wild and has an even wilder history. It was bought back by BMW with 90,000 miles on the odometer, which makes little sense while also making it a genuine lemon title car. And shortly after, it was repossessed. Then it surfaced at auction where I picked up for nearly 90% off its original MSRP. Clearly that discount was for a good reason. This strange electrical issue has made this car basically unusable. Even though I drove it a mere mile home from its drop-off, it did so without power steering, a suspension that feels as stiff as a rock, and clearly without most of its electrical aids. I've worked through a multitude of mechanical and even electrical issues on BMWs in the past, but I've never seen one with problems quite like this. I personally love almost everything about this BMW. The looks, the size, its drivetrain, and I was extremely excited to scoop this M car up for just a little over 12 grand, but it will definitely be a true auction gamble. We could literally have a weak battery or just one bad ground wire, like on my old E46 M3, which also caused a slew of electrical issues, or this thing could just be a disaster lemon that's worth only what it contains in working parts. And in just a moment, we'll start digging into things to find out whether I'll be riding dirty cheap or if I'll be waiting outside the BMW parts department on Black Friday. We all know they won't be having any good deals there, but that's okay because I've already got all my gift shopping done since SimpliSafe is offering their best deals of the year and giving early access to my subscribers during their Black Friday sale. Right now you can save 50% or more on their award-winning home security systems when you visit simplisafe.com/samcrack.
SimpliSafe on.
I've been using SimpliSafe for over 2 years now, and they're always improving my system with over-the-air hardware updates and app updates, which future-proofs the system and makes it as secure as possible. And they're always innovating with new devices. I love my smart locks, which can be opened with the tap of a button on my smartphone from anywhere in the world, and their brand new outdoor wireless camera. It installs in just a few minutes and has a battery that lasts between 3 and 6 months on a single charge. And when you click the link in the description or visit simplysafe.com/samcrack, not only are you going to get at least 50% off a Simply Safe home security system, you're going to own your very own security system. There's no renting or leasing equipment, and there's absolutely no contracts with Simply Safe. It's a tremendous value because home monitoring starts at just 50 cents a day. I highly recommend it. And again, that's at simplysafe.com/samcrack. And I got to give them a huge thanks for keeping my place safe and for also sponsoring this video. What are those? Those are one of the first things I noticed whenever I saw the listing for this car. Clearly someone ripped the nice X6m wheels off of it. These look like more of a basic X5 or X6 wheel, but either way, that's not our major concern here. Our major concern is the electrical system. You know, the car sat at auction a while, so first things first, we got to get the trunk open. I did find that trunk unlock button in the car. All right, see, everything is just super finicky right now. I've got my electrical system tester there, which we're going to use in just a few seconds, but first thing I noticed when I checked out the battery is that it has a date of 5/21 on it, and the tow truck driver did start this car right up, so the chances that this battery is bad is very slim at this point, but it'll be easy enough to tell. This is an tool, like I said, an electrical system tester, has a bunch of different functions on it, but we're going to start really simple and just do a voltage test. All we've got to do is, like with a set of jumper cables, positive to the positive terminal, negative, and this should power right up. So we go to this first smart function here. You can see it tells us there is 12 to 12.1 volts coming off of our battery. That is good. That will start this car. That should be enough to run all the electronics, but it's not just the battery we're concerned about. A faulty alternator could also cause a slew of electrical issues. So let's go ahead and fire the car up. And we should see that number jump, and you're seeing it jump right here, look. So we're averaging well over 14 volts, and it's consistently over 14 volts. It's not jumping in and out, so our alternator is likely also just fine. I think we can confidently say the issue isn't with the alternator nor the battery. Plus, we've got that electrical system warning popping up on the iDrive, so the car's trying to tell us something. We still want to keep things relatively simple here, so the next step for me was to do a quick code scan. When I got back the initial health report, there were dozens and dozens of codes across several different modules. Most of the modules contained in the car, I cleared those, I rescanned, and a lot of those codes came back, which unfortunately still doesn't give us very clear direction where to point to. So we have an issue like this where there are codes just thrown everywhere, and they're not very particular codes. You'll notice that each code definition here doesn't really point to anything in particular. You got to look for consistencies. So there's two major consistencies I can point out. Number one, the majority of the codes seem to be stored in what was called the JBE, or the junction box electronics. We'll get back to that in a second. But the second consistency was the fact that a lot of these codes in the code definition said KCAN in them. And what KCAN refers to is the CAN or CAN bus system, which is the network of modules communicating with each other to work. Now, putting those two things together, the junction box electronics and a KCAN fault, and considering that the junction box electronics runs a lot of the systems that are on this CAN network, well, maybe there's an error here. So I think the next step is to go pull out the junction box electronics. It's really simple to get to, and see if it changes any of our symptoms. All right, let's try this again. No matter how many times I go and try and shut this car off, just, you know, normally using a key, it keeps on certain electrical functions. So you can see lights flickering on and off. You could hear the iDrive binging and bonging. And so now we've got no power to the car. And that's also a smart idea when we go and remove this footwell junction box module, which should be simply located right underneath here. And okay, what I don't like to see is somebody's messed with this. Missing screw, screw, screw. Let's get in there, let's look, let's hope somebody didn't already do this, because if they did and it didn't fix our problem, then we really got to figure something else out, and we don't want to do that. So I'm curious to see if there's any water intrusion in this car. I mean, water that would get up to the module behind this dashboard would be, I mean, monumental. And you'd see a lot of sediment in places like here. This looks all very normal. I don't see anything super obvious. And right underneath here is exactly what we're trying to get to, this junction box. All right, so right underneath here, we need to remove a few more things, and then we can pop the entire assembly down and pull the module itself out. All right, one good thing I'm seeing right now, which I didn't think I was gonna see, is that there's like this piece of trim that's holding a wiring harness in place. It specifically mentions it in the workshop manual. It says to remove this piece and then slacken the wiring harness. If somebody really sloppy just came in here and worked on it, well, I can tell you right now, to get this all back the way it goes is not a lot of fun. So the fact that they did this the appropriate way, or didn't do it at all, is good. It means somebody probably hasn't replaced this module yet. All right, and look here, this comes down, and there is the module right here, this guy. That's what we want to try and pull out. I think I can wiggle this out of place a little bit, so I'm going to put the camera down, try and get this out. That way I can also inspect the fuses in the junction box here and just make sure it doesn't look waterlogged or anything. Yeah, the workshop manual always makes everything look easier. So you see there's one tiny little screw you got to get to back there. And I thought I should be able to, since I slackened the wiring harness back here. Thought I'd be able to just pull this out a bit more to gain access to it. It's no big deal. I've got this really nice small Allen head Torx tool, so that'll get back there no problem. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to pull this module up and out first and foremost. And then, you know, one of the things, again, we might be worried about is some water intrusion. But if you take a close look, and I've got the light on here so you could see, if there was water intrusion in here, it'd be a disaster. See, it's a little dirty. That's, you know, probably pretty normal if you consider that the HVAC system is circulating and moving in particles. The filter for the HVAC system is right to the side here. So after 10 years, 100,000 miles, I think that sort of, let's call it wear, looks pretty normal. So let me go ahead, reach my hand back here. I'm going to grab this module out right now. The module is out. We did solve one mini mystery here. Well, the reason that lower panel there, the cover panel for the bottom of the dashboard, was out is what I said earlier. There's an air filter element in there. But the other reason why I'm darn near positive this is the original, first of all, if somebody took this out and put it back in, there's no way they put this final screw in. It is so difficult to get to. It probably took me 25 minutes just for the one screw. And the second reason is the more factual one right here. You see this 13-10-10. I'm sure this has to do with the build date of the module itself. This car is a 2011, which means a lot of parts would have been manufactured on 2010, as well as potentially the car. Now, one of the ways we could test this module is without the module at all. Here, let me explain. It's something I read on the internet, something I've never tried before, but I am very excited to try right now because it's literally going to take a few seconds, and it kind of makes sense. If you look at these European cars, and really any modern car, there are usually dozens of modules in there. Modules that run things as simple as just the automatic door closer. So that module is located underneath here, and it's one that it frequently gets taken out by water intrusion. In this generation X6 and X5, there's modules over here. There's one on the floor down there, and again, they're scattered underneath the carpets and the dashboard, pretty much everywhere in this car. Remember, we just removed the junction box control module. When we did, I unhooked the battery. Well, I just went and temporarily hooked the battery back up. In theory, a lot of these modules communicate with each other. So that junction box module is responsible for a lot of functions of this car. And remember, a lot of our functions were either inoperable or acting very funny. So if that module is gone, let's say a disease module, which is sitting right here, and not hooked up to the car, you can see all the wiring harnesses are still dangling down there, the car's just going to be missing all of those features that this is responsible for. However, everything shouldn't be spazzing out anymore. The car should kind of work, at least certain functions of the car. Now, the car might not even start up, but as you notice when we got in it, there was a light on the dashboard. It wasn't flickering. So let's see what happens when I take the key. We'll put it in here. Everything comes on. So far, so good. We don't see any flickering of any of these lights. Foot on the brake. And so the car didn't start up, but look at this. We've got all our information. It's telling us we're low on gas. Yeah, I mean, nothing is flickering. That's a good sign because this thing would start flickering within seconds of turning it on. Now, sometimes it would stay solid like this for 10, 20 seconds, but it would always flicker before when our junction box module here was plugged in. Now, let me try and hit this again.
So the car actually will start. Notice our tachometer still isn't running. Our iDrive, let's see here, I'm assuming is not running. Nope, iDrive is dead. It looks like climate control. There's nothing coming out of the vents. Yeah, nothing here is running. This is flashing a ton of lights. Probably, again, because this module here is responsible for some of these functions we see here. But notice nothing is flickering. Oh, look. Huh. A few days ago, when we pulled that junction box electronics from the BMW, I think I said that we could test to see if it was bad by pulling out of the car and running it. And well, initially I thought, okay, things are better because, well, the screen wasn't flickering and the dashboard wasn't flickering, but really nothing worked at all, and that's because this module is responsible for so many of those functions. Now, this is not the one that came out of the car. I just got this in the mail. I ordered it off the internet from a parts breaker. It's from a high trim X5. It's the same part number, but you can see the build date is different. So this is a spare module, and basically, even though this came from a different car that might have different options from our X6M, it should bring back a lot of the other functions like iDrive and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and swap this module in place, and if it changes the way the car works and it brings back all our electronics online, then we know our fault with the old junction box module. Key, we'll put it in the ignition. Okay, see this? Okay, well, we've got our functions back, but we've got them back with all the problems. So clearly our issue wasn't with the junction box electronics after all. Let me just take it for a little drive around here and see if it does anything different. And we've got a strong battery, so the car should crank over pretty good. So you see flickering there? I hear a lot of clicking coming from the back as well. I wonder if it's this relay right here. It's very warm. Put it in the drive, see if it moves. All right, now it's moving on us again. And again, it feels like my power steering is like completely gone. Very, very stiff, abnormal for a BMW. Let's see, sometimes it gives me trouble in reverse. Right now it seems to be working. All right. Put in the drive, it's working. Oh. Did you just hear that? It's throwing itself in the park randomly, so I got to stop driving it. You can see the gauges are all going crazy. Even though swapping that module didn't really change the symptoms much, I'm interested to see what in the heck is going on with this. Oh, check that out. That's interesting. I wonder what all that stuff is. I mean, it doesn't look like it was wet or anything. Maybe it's from all the heat. It's developed some of that, I don't even know what you call that. It's like a corrosion almost, but I mean, there's no water anywhere in this area. There's no water down there. This is a common place in the X5 and the X6M to get wet. And I've already checked all down here because that would obviously create an issue. Obviously where the battery is, it's all good there. So well, we need to figure this out. As you could tell, car electrical systems aren't my strong suit, and every time we fire this car up, we get new symptoms, which points me in a different direction, and at one point I just will start going in circles, which is what we've already started doing. The fact that I bought that spare junction box electronics, not knowing any better, not seeing anything obvious, well, that's basically 80 bucks down the tubes, and if I start replacing every single module that's throwing an error code, well, it's going to get really expensive really quick. So I just kind of put everything on hold, did my research away from the car, and I remember this amazing YouTube channel hosted by a guy named Super Mario. The channel is Super Mario Diagnostics, and he's an electrical guru when it comes to these cars. It seems a lot of BMWs come through his shop. Recently, an X5 with a similar engine came in his shop,
and it had a misfire. Now, BMW guys think misfire, well, it's easy. It's probably a coil pack or maybe an injector. Well, it was nothing mechanical, and it came down to the circuit board. And he very clearly and concisely walked through step by step how he diagnosed it as an electrical issue instead of a mechanical issue. And so I figured he'd be the right guy to give me some guidance on this. I reached out to him, and he cut me nearly a 20-minute video on our issue with the X6M and how he would approach it. Here, let me show you a snippet from the video.
Hey there, Sam. Thanks for reaching out to me. I'm glad we could collaborate on this one. Hopefully we could get this one fixed remotely, but if need be, we'll go ahead and take care of it over here at the shop. But taking a look at your X6, that video that you sent me, showing that relay clicking, it sounds like multiple relays. It was in the rear electronics box. I want to find out what those relays are. So for that, I look at diagrams. Let's go ahead and take a look at power and ground distribution. And usually these diagrams start out with all the stuff that's in the front in the first few pages, and then works our way to the back. So, and if we keep going, I see a terminal 15 relay and a bistable relay over here, and I believe that is the one that is outside. The rest, that bistable relay, that is a current cutoff relay, and you can see right here that it has a solid ground, and the other side of the control is powered by the junction box, which you changed. Let's see if we could just take a look at its purpose, right? So what I like to do is use the search function, see if we get lucky, put cutoff in there. Terminal control. Terminal control would probably be where we're looking for. So this is telling us each and every single possible terminal control. There's terminal 30, 15. Let's see if we see cutoff in here, because, all right, here it is. Closed circuit current cutoff relay. Deactivation in the event of a fault. So the junction box, the JBE that you changed already and that we need to code, it is responsible for that cutoff relay. So something's going on. The junction box is seeing some kind of a fault and causing this problem. And we could see that part of that cutoff relay, these are the things that are being cut off. We got the trailer module, the amplifier, the comfort access system, the communication computer, the car information computer, the multimedia platform, the comm box, navigation, the interface module. That's for an electronic vehicle. The instrument panel. So it looks like all this is leading back to your junction box, which, you know, you're already in the right area. It can be tricky sometimes, but a lot of times it's really simple. The trickier part is probably the disassembly that's going to be required, and there is easier ways. But say you have a shorted module, disconnecting the fuse, like a lot of people get away with that. They'll disconnect the fuse to the module and it'll clean up the waveform. But if you have a grounded waveform and you found the offending module, you disconnect the fuse, it might not necessarily clean up the waveform, because the CAN chip inside of the module is internally shorted to ground. So disconnecting the power supply to that module won't fix that physical short to ground. So just something to put out there. I thought you might want to know that. Let me know if you need any more sense of direction where we could go from there. Let me know your findings, and we'll keep in touch.
We are heating up just like this relay did. We are getting really warm and figuring out exactly what's wrong with our X6M. And Mario helped us understand exactly why the screens are flickering and exactly why we're experiencing the symptoms we are. And it all comes down to this relay. Now I've got the electrical system tester back out because it has a relay test function. We'll be able to confirm that our relay is good. I suspect it's good because it is turning on and off all those electrical functions. It's the whole reason why the iDrive is flickering, why the speedometer is going in and out. It's because the short or the problem somewhere in the system is firing this relay, telling it to shut off a bunch of those functions in the junction box electronics, and that's protecting everything else in the car. Now you see when I hooked up the relay, it lit up right here. It sees that the relay is on, which means that it's sensing the relay, which tells us it's pretty much good, but we can go ahead and send power to it, and the power is going through the relay as well, no problem. So this is a known working relay at this point. We will replace it just because, well, that, unfortunately, just replacing this isn't going to be the end all to our problem.
Now that we're equipped with a little bit more knowledge, we understand what this relay's function is and that it does work. Watch this. We're going to take it. We're going to leave it right here. We're not going to plug it into the fuse box. And I'm betting you this car is going to act quite a bit differently. Key in the ignition. Everything powers up. This looks like it's flickering in person. It's not. That's just the camera. No flickering on the iDrive screen. This all looks good. Put on the brake. And while we still have a bunch of trouble lights on the dashboard, but we got to remember it's a BMW, right? No, but seriously, look at this. I'll sit here like this for a while. Nothing is flickering anymore. These RPMs used to jump all over the place. It would go all the way down to 0. Look at it all. It works. We obviously just can't run this car without that relay. Do you get what we just did there when we removed that relay from the system, that main cutoff relay? Since it's not plugged in, it can't cut off power to these systems that are experiencing interference. But I could assure you in a short period of time, by driving around without this relay in place, well, it'll probably cause a lot of damage to those systems. That relay is there for a reason. It's a safety net for very expensive electronics in our BMW. So based on everything I've learned about this BMW over the last few days and that bit of guidance from Mario, I think we've got a good plan of attack going forward. It's pretty clear at this point we have an issue in the K-CAN network. We need to figure out every single module that runs on this network and inspect not only the modules themselves, but their lines very closely. And let's hope there's a visible issue here. 9 times out of 10 that I've dealt with electrical issues, it is because of some sort of physical damage. Again, whether that be water intrusion. A lot of the stuff I've seen in the past has been due to a crash where a wiring harness or a module is compromised because of an actual crash damage. Fires, things like that, things that are really obvious. This car at first glance just looks really clean. Now I can't wait to figure out what is wrong with this X6m because I want to drive it so bad. This is one of the most exciting BMWs I bought, even maybe more exciting than the i8. You know, like 0 to 60, it's just as fast as an i8. So if you're excited to see what it might be, make sure you subscribe to the channel because you'll be notified next time I release a video. Also, if you feel like you learned something in this video, be sure to hit that like button. Guys, I can't thank each and every one of you enough for watching today. I'll catch you very soon.